Welcome to Navigating Minds, and thank you for joining us on our short form content. Today, we will be discussing the topic boosting your child's self-esteem and self-confidence. We're joined by Gracie Harcombe, the lead child coach at Anxend. Gracie, thanks for joining us. Can you tell us a bit about you and your background at Anxend, please?
Hi, absolutely. I'm Gracie. I lead the coaching side at Anxend, and my background is child psychology. I've spent the past 3 years working with Anxend, with the children, with the families, and supporting mental health and emotional development. And I provide resources and support to help children build resilience.
I love that. I wanted to start this off by discussing why self-esteem and self-confidence are so important for a child's development. What's your view on that?
I think it's a really important topic, actually, because self-esteem and self-confidence are fundamental to a child's overall well-being. They influence how the child perceives themselves, their abilities, and basically affects their willingness to take on challenges and cope with setbacks. Healthy self-esteem helps children navigate social relationships, perform better academically, and develop a positive outlook on their life.
Awesome.
Love that. What would you say the key components are to a self-esteem in children, and how the parents can look out for it, basically?
I think it does include a sort of sense of competence, really. Self-worth and belonging are the main sort of key factors to that. I think we need to identify sort of the healthy ways self-esteem can present themselves. And, they need to show curiosity, be willing to try new things and express their sort of feelings openly. Children with low self-esteem might avoid those challenges and be overly critical of themselves. They also show signs of withdrawal. So it's really important that they have some belonging and self-esteem to overcome challenges that they get set, really.
Have you found any sort of like current trends or challenges which you've observed or the team have observed at Anxend sort of addressing these issues around children's mental health and self-esteem?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the most significant trends at the moment is social media. That comes up quite a lot. On the children's self-perception of that, it's comparing themselves to other people and idealistic, so unrealistic pictures of other people, comparing themselves, and thinking that they're not good enough if they don't look a certain way. That comes up quite a lot. That is really, really sort of affecting people's self-esteem. Additionally, we've also found the pandemic still has huge increased feelings of isolation for children. And it can be really hard for them to find actual tools and be able to build their resilience and emotionally regulate themselves, because they sort of get to an age where people expect them to know everything, and they actually don't. So it's about providing that support for them and reinforcing that sort of positivity, if you like.
Yeah, interesting.
Amazing. On that support, what strategies do you think what would you recommend to sort of parents or peers providing for sort of positive reinforcement to their children? What kind of strategies would you think people should take on board and really learn from?
Positive reinforcement should be sort of specific and actually mean something when you say it, because we're focusing on an effort rather than sort of an innate ability, if that makes sense. So, for example, instead of saying you're smart, say I'm really proud of you, look how hard you worked on that project. You're giving them a little bit more than just saying, that's good. So children look for that reassurance from their parents because they don't feel it themselves. And obviously that links in then with their self-esteem and their confidence. So you're giving them that rationale as to why they've done something well, and not just saying you've done well. And that's really good. Helping children to sort of understand their efforts and lead them to success by following a growth mindset. So what I mean by growth mindset is for people or parents to push their children out of their comfort zone and not be afraid to do that. So there's a lot of parents that are afraid to give that child or let that child fall and not be able to pick them up again, but actually that builds their resilience and confidence.
In terms of sort of like activity side of things, we've talked about this a lot. We talked about it briefly with Maurice as well. And if those of you who don't know, Maurice is the founder and CEO of Anxend. And we talked about, are there any types of activity you would suggest that can help build a child's skill set and sort of like sense of achievement, sort of in a way make them feel better and build that self-esteem through activity? What's your views there?
Yes, I think activity, especially in children with anxiety, can be difficult, but it is really worth a try. I think if they find something that they really like, how do they know that they like it if they don't try it, essentially? And we find that hobbies such as sport, that releases dopamine into the bloodstream and is really, really good for you. Exercise, obviously any exercise, and you can completely tailor it to each child. You know, some children like ice skating, some children like basketball, so it's really just finding things that they like, which can also be really fun. Art and sort of crafty and creative things as well are really good for children, and it's very good to sort of find different ways. If they don't like art, then they might not like music, or vice versa, or they might choose something that they find is better for them. And it might be because that's the way their brain's wired. They might be more analytical or black and white thinking and might enjoy something a bit more than arts and being creative. So it's about providing opportunities for goal setting, persistence, and experiencing successes, and also failing in that as well. You know, you don't have to go into rugby to be top of the team. You're going in there to do something because you like it and because it makes you happy.
I love that. Gracie, what role does sort of constructive feedback have in the balance between being, from a parental point of view anyway, towards their children? What role does sort of constructive feedback have?
So I think constructive feedback is essential for their growth, really. It doesn't necessarily have to be specific, but it kind of should be, focusing on behaviours rather than personal attributes, and delivered in obviously a supportive and non-judgmental manner. This basically helps the children understand areas for improvement without feeling discouraged. And that's the main word here is discouraged. You're not saying to your child, you know, you've done this, and this is the outcome, and this is a bad outcome. You're saying, this is the outcome. How can we make this better? How can you do this differently next time? And you're giving them a space to sort of open up and validate their feelings, but you're also helping them to achieve maybe a bit better next time without them feeling a little bit disheartened. So
we find a lot of times, just from talking to people, meeting with the guests we have on, a lot of people talk about sort of common, I'd say rookie common mistakes which people make in situations. From your point of view, are there sort of any common mistakes which parents should avoid in terms of this topic around self-esteem, things which they can implement when they go home and just take into account from your point of view?
Yeah, so there's a lot of when you have an anxious child, or when you have a child that has low self-esteem, what commonly comes up is, and it's not a mistake, you know, it's just a learning or something that you can do differently, right? So a lot of it is overpraising. We think that overpraising is a really good way of going, yeah, that's really good, and encouraging them to do things, when actually sometimes it's actually shielding children from failures. And, you know, when a child falls, you want to pick them up and you want to wrap them with cotton wool. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but it's actually, we need to have a balance and find that balance between being constructively giving feedback and also praising them for the good things. Another one would be overly critical. So, for example, we've had parents that tell children what they can and can't wear. Obviously, in certain situations, that's true. But that can be an oversight on their behalf if the child's actually, well, this is building my self-confidence. I feel good in this top or this skirt or whatever it may be. And the parent goes, well, no, you're not wearing that. But it's finding a balance. So balance, support, and encouraging independence and resilience. And basically, the main point is allowing the children to experience and learn from their failure, which actually develops a healthy self-esteem rather than a self-esteem that's based on, versions of yourself rather than the child.
I love that. Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. We hope you enjoyed the episode of our short form content. If you want to learn more about Anxend and the amazing work they do, the links are down below in the description. In the description, you will also find a free anxiety test to take if you wish. Thank you for joining the three of us today. I'm Tom.
I'm Joe.
And this is Navigating Minds. See you soon. Woo!